I probably shouldn't be making a music now because I'm driving again, but the vibration is just with me right now to talk about it. So let's see if I can talk and drive, and hopefully it's not too noisy. I started a Facebook post this morning about what causes human suffering, and I got many good answers that come from the varying levels of consciousness in our human mind. And one of the answers was our false expectations and attachments. I want to see if this concept is bulletproof. I think I am about to blow some holes in the whole spiritual teaching that focuses on illusion and false expectations and non-attachment. I'm not saying that these things don't work, that they're not effective, but the problem I see with them, with those teachings, are that they are merely mental bypasses. The mind bypassing the true cause for human suffering. And what do I mean by that? Let me see if I can unpack it. Let's look at the idea of false expectations. The problem is we reason from our conscious mind only when as adults, right? We're unaware of the realm of the subconscious, where 95% of our behavior, our actions generate from. Our conscious mind holds 5% of awareness. That's where we store our conscious knowledge, such as these teachings that say, we suffer because of false expectations. But we need to go back and rewind. We need to rewind to childhood. We need to rewind to the beginning of our human journey as a baby. Does a baby have quote-unquote false expectations? Or does a baby have legitimate needs? Because it is helpless, because it is dependent on the mother and the father to provide nurture, nourishment, nurture, physically, emotionally, and psychologically. Would you call a baby's needs and expectations false? Probably not, right? They're not false expectations, but they are legitimate needs and expectations that were neglected and not met. And because that is such a detrimental impact on the tender psyche in childhood, we don't blame our parents, we blame ourselves, and our mind always blames and gaslights ourselves. So we formulate these concepts in adulthood that calls it false expectations and attachments. It is very normal as an infant, as a baby, as a child, to form emotional attachments. It's normal. It's not an illusion. But as adults, because we are now living in avoidant behavior, in avoidant attachment styles, we have convinced ourselves that our needs were false. We shouldn't have had those needs and expectations in the first place. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten hurt, right? But that is a false reasoning of the mental mind that is simply trying to cope with this subconscious pain. And so we think at a conscious level that if we dissociate ourselves and detach from our legitimate needs by calling them false needs, something we shouldn't have had, bad for us to have expectations of survival, right? So our mental mind, and this is the mental mind in many of the spiritual gurus out there that tell you that you have false expectations and you shouldn't, that you live below your divine potential, etc., etc. This is spiritual bypassing from people that have not reconnected to these psychological fragments in their soul. They have bypassed that aspect, that dimension in themselves, not to have to suffer with the pain. But it's not the ideal way to live. You're still living in a dissociated state of consciousness, blocking out the soul aspect, the emotional aspect of yourself, living in denial of yourself, in self-denial, in the denial of your needs, right? So this kind of spiritual teaching is toxic because it keeps you dissociated. It does not cause you to unify in your dimensions as one. Now, as a person that has gone through this shadow work and reconnected these fragmented, abandoned parts of myself, reasoning through it, validating myself for having legitimate needs, legitimate expectations. I mean, all you have to do is validate and acknowledge. Then your mental mind can, in that safety of non-judgment, can re-merge itself, reconnect itself with your soul aspects. That doesn't mean that you have to live super needy and attached now as an adult. Once you understand this, once you acknowledge, yes, those are legitimate needs, you can, through reason, through real reason, not bypassing, reattach to yourself. That's what you need to do. Not non-attach, not detach from yourself, but reattach in truth, in authenticity. And when you do that, your needs are going, they're going to flatten out. You're not going to become this codependent, needy, drunk on expectation adult. Quite the opposite. But a lot of people as adults don't want to go there because they fear that they're going to be drowning in that codependency and in those needs, and they fear that what if those can't be met, right? It's not going to happen. You're going to be fine. You're going to become a very balanced human being. And this is how you actually alleviate your suffering, by meeting your emotional needs by yourself through this re-experiencing and explaining, reasoning through the experience. That's how you reconnect your mind to your soul and achieve union, right? So I hope that makes sense. Most people in the spiritual community live detached from their soul, and they call it non-attachment. It's not spirituality, it's a bypass. Okay, and you have to visit your soul, you have to visit your feminine, you have to visit your emotional space and do the healing there to become one whole mind, one unified consciousness.